User-defined fields are fields that you can create to hold information that Denari does not already have a place for. You can use these fields as filters for reports later on. Using these fields is a two-step process. First, you must set up the field, and second, you must then populate the field in each donor's name record. For example, let's say that I'm a Red Cross organization and I need to store donors' blood types. Denari doesn't have a specific field to store blood type, but I can do that by setting up the blood type field as a user-defined field and then using that field to store the blood type for each name record. Let's start by setting up our field. To do that, click on the gear icon and then user-defined field setup. Here we see the list of all the user-defined fields that someone has already set up. We can click Add New to create a new one. I'm going to go ahead and select one that I created earlier. The first field here is called just that, field. It's really the description. It just tells us what this record is about, so we'll type blood type in that field. The next field is the label field. This is the word that will sit to the left of the field in the name record page. It tells the user what this field is about. So I've typed blood type there as well. The size field really refers to the height of the field. We can have different types of fields that may require a larger field. For example, as we'll see in a minute, we can have a text box where we could type a paragraph if needed. For this field, I'll enter the number 3. That's a good size for the field we need to store blood type. And we may need to experiment a little to see what works best for your user-defined fields. Across from that is the width field, and you may need to experiment with this field also. The number you enter here does not represent characters, so it's not very exact. For blood type, I've entered a 20 here just to give me some room, but I can come back later and change that if needed. Now I need to select a display order. If there's more than one user-defined field on this page, this will tell us which one will appear first on the page, which one second, etc. And by the way, rather than having to keep saying user-defined fields, I'm going to call them UDF fields from here on out. The Allow Empty checkbox is an important field. Checking the box means that you are saying, yes, allow the field to be empty. If that box is not checked, then the user, when they come to the page, will not be able to leave the page until they've put something in that field. If that's what you want, then don't check that box. In our example, however, we may not know the blood type for everyone, so we want to check the box so that users aren't required to put something in that field when they're on that page. The Include in Output field refers to the output options from Name Segmenter. You'll see more on this in the session on Name Segmenter. In the name segment, you have the option to output the UDF fields in an Excel spreadsheet. There may be some fields, however, that you don't want to show in an Excel spreadsheet. You may store sensitive information about your donors that you don't want to be included in a spreadsheet that can be printed and passed around. So if this box is not checked, even though you tell Name Segmenter to output that UDF field, this one will not be included. The UDF data type field tells Denari what type of field to expect. You see the options here: character, date, integer, and memo. It's important that you choose the right one. For example, Denari will treat a date field differently than a memo field. In our case, we'll select character because that allows us to put anything in the field like letters, numbers, punctuation, dashes, and slashes, etc. The UDF control type field helps control what the user enters into the field. We see here a combo from display expression, the date, the memo field, the related combo box, the text box with email button, true-false checkbox, and wide memo. So let's discuss each of these. In looking at this list, we see two combo box options, one that has the from display expression explanation next to it, and the related combo box. A combo box is a drop-down field. In fact, this field is a combo box. When you click the drop-down, there are options in the list that the user can select. This is a good field type to use when you can, because it forces every user to use the same options. It doesn't allow someone to type what they want in that field. But we have to create that list, and Denari is giving you two ways to do that. The first is by setting up a table, and it's connected to this related combo box. If you choose that option, then our programmer will have to set that up for you. No one chooses that option, however, because the other method from display expression is much easier. You'll simply jump down to the display expression field and enter the items there. You enter the options separated by a colon with no spaces, as I've done here. So when your user comes to this field, these are the options that they'll have available to select. The date field is pretty self-explanatory. It will create a field that only allows the user to enter a date. The memo field will create a larger field to enter lots of text. You may want to adjust your size and width above to accommodate the needed size. The text box is the one that we're going to select to hold our blood type field. It's just a simple line that allows us to put pretty much whatever we want to put in that field. The text box with email button will create a text box but add a little button next to it that when pushed will open your email program on your computer and allow you to create and send an email. So this field would usually hold an email address. Now you might be saying here, yeah, but Denari already has a place for email addresses, and you're right. So this field is a little redundant, but you could use it for extra emails if needed. The true-false checkbox is just that. You might use this to track whether someone has submitted a form, for example. Checking the box means yes, and not checking means no. And finally, the wide memo creates a field that spans the width of the two columns of information on the Denari page. There are several other fields near the bottom of the page: related table, related reference, combo filter, and alternate PK, that are all used with that related combo box option I mentioned earlier. Since you'll probably never use that option, you will probably never use these fields. And as I said, if you use that option, our programmer will need to set that up for you, and he will be the one who will use these fields. The last field on this page is the tooltip text. The tooltip appears when the user hovers their cursor over the field. Anything you put in this field will show in a little pop-up window that will provide the user with instructions about the field. So I've typed in here, enter the blood type here. Your user will probably already have figured that out, but sometimes the tooltip can be helpful. So now we hit save at the top of the page to create our field. The second step in this process is to populate the field. For that, we click the Names button on the left, then Name List Management, and now search for and select the name you want. I'm just going to go ahead and select the first one here in the list. We'll select user data on the right, and that takes us to the user data field, and you can see for the most part it's blank. We can add fields to the page in one of two ways. We can click the Add All Fields link here at the top, which will then add all of the UDF fields that we've set up on this page, or we can select a field from the list and click Add this field, and I'll do that. Now we can click the drop down and select blood type from the list, and then choose the option that we want. So if this person has O negative blood type, that's obviously what we're going to select there. Finally, we can also remove fields from this page if needed by selecting the field in this drop down field here and clicking on delete this field. And once you've made any changes to this page, remember to hit the Save button. As mentioned earlier, you can then use these UDF fields as filters for name segments that will allow you, as in our example, to get a list of names with a certain blood type. For that, let's click the Reports button here on the left. Then Query Tools and Name Segmenter. And I'll just select a segment here at random, but you could go ahead and click on Add New to create a new one if you want. On the Filter tab, we have the User-Defined Data section, and I'll expand that and check the box that says Use User Data. Now we can use our blood type field to get a list of names with a certain blood type. So let's say we need a list of all the names with O negative. I'll select the blood type field here, telling Denari that this is the one I want to filter on. And then in the low value field, I need to enter the value in exactly the same way as it was entered in the setup record. Now, when I run the segment, I'll get a list of names with that blood type. You could also get a range of blood types by entering A, for example, in the low value field and B in the high value field to get everyone with a blood type of A through B. Now I'll click on the Output tab, and when I choose Excel, I get a set of checkboxes, one of which is Include User Data. Now when I run the spreadsheet, Denari will add those fields to the Excel output, as well as all of the other user-defined fields that I have allowed to be in the output by checking that box back in that setup record. For more information about how these name segments work, you can check out the videos on that topic. This concludes this session on user-defined fields. If you have any questions, please contact our tech support office through the Help button at the top of Denari.